Hey guys, welcome to Punky's World. I'm late today. I slept in and then I have been working on Kid Missing for August, for Unidentified August. I got one case to go. Let's see. My hair needs a new hair thing. This one's too loose. It's not staying up. I am a little sore. I smacked my heel into this yesterday. Corner of my glass table. This is my list for Unidentified August. I will be doing the preview next Sunday, so a week from today. And the first case will be Monday the 5th. No, Monday's not the 5th. Wednesday the 5th. Yeah, 4th is Tuesday. Wait, no. Monday the 3rd. Sheepers Crow. Monday the 3rd. To be 6 altogether. Because again, we don't do Doe Fridays in August because they're all does. I'm also going to do a wrestling news video over on Punky's Pro Wrestling. So that will be fun. Anyway. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I also have to do this tomorrow. Today I'm working on this. Tomorrow I'll work on my Historical Society research. So this is going to be fun and interesting news. Not anything horribly sad or... Oops. There, I had to add one to that. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do next. The cases for next month are a lot of natural causes cases. I have a little more updated video on the Webster, Massachusetts John Doe. Those of you who watch this channel, you know that I'm from Douglas. Webster's right next door. Spent a lot of time in Webster throughout my life because it was a shopping hub back in the day before we went into Worcester or into Milford to go shopping. Right up the road and went into Webster. Webster is a small town land-wise. It's very densely populated, so it has a much greater population than Douglas because its population density is higher. Douglas has a lot of woods and a giant state forest, which is acres and acres and acres of our land that we can never develop, which is good. So even though Douglas is growing, it's not even close. Webster has over 16,000 residents. Douglas has 9,000 and something, which is pretty high compared to what it was when I came here in 1980, the second time. I'm not sure what the population was the first time I was here in 76, but in 1980, I know this from my mother, when I started school in Douglas, the population was 3,600. That's why I get a kick out of these true crime shows that say a small town of 50,000 where everybody knew everybody. What? Small town of 50,000 or 60,000? I'm sorry, where I'm from in rural New England, we call that a city. My mother and I just used to sit there and look at each other and go, small town? My tootsies. That's not a small town. That's a city. But I guess to people who live in it, next door to other bigger cities, it's not. One of our cases is out of Richmond, Virginia, which has about a little under 250,000 people. That's a lot of people. But it's not even the largest city in Virginia. You'll notice that with a lot of capital cities. With the exception of Massachusetts, our capital city does happen to be our largest city. It happens to be the largest city in New England, actually. The top 3 largest cities in Massachusetts in order are Boston, Worcester, and Springfield. Those are the 3 largest cities in Massachusetts in that order. So, and yeah, Boston probably has 1 million people, if not more. Worcester does not have 1 million people. I think about half or thereabouts. And I'm not sure about Springfield. I think it's something like 300,000. These are approximations based on numbers that I've seen in the past. It's been a while since I looked at those particular estimates. So, but yeah, my neighbors are probably wondering what I'm laughing at. But yeah, you call 50 or 60,000 people a small town? Like I said, my mother and I would say, huh? But this town is considered rural. It's farm country. It's a lot of woods. A lot of the roads are not paved. Some of the roads were just paved in like 1985. I mean, literally, we did not have cable in this town. The main part of town didn't have cable until 92 or 93. And the woods part of the old town, South Douglas, didn't have it until 94, 95. And I'm not even kidding. If you live out in the woods of Douglas and you lose your power, you're done for a week or more. because of how far out in the middle of absolutely nothing you are. Trust me, my godmother lived out there. You'd be without power for a week, at least, if not two. I'm not even kidding. So here, we used to lose power for 2 or 3 days. Fortunately, they have done a change with the power for here and for Manchog, where they've put it so it's on 2 different grids. It's on the main grid, and somebody hits a pole and knocks the power out to the main grid, goes off for a second, and comes back on the second grid. Now, if you have a natural disaster, obviously you can knock out both, and you're going to be without power. But generally speaking, we're without power for a few seconds now. Didn't used to be that way. Believe me, we've sat in the dark during many a hurricane, many a snowstorm, many a bad thunderstorm, whatever the case. Well, not so much thunderstorms, but snowstorms, hurricanes, tropical storms, things like that. We've sat in the dark for 3 days or so. So that's why you either have battery-operated lanterns, like I have, candles like in the old days, or in the old days we even had kerosene lamps. I hated those stupid things. They stunk. And I don't like fire. So I'm not lighting a candle. I'm not lighting a kerosene lamp. I'll take my battery-operated lanterns, which are brighter anyway. I do own a flashlight, which is an LED flashlight, which is a nice flashlight. It's in my bedroom so I can grab it and get out to the bathroom safely if the power goes out or something. Plus, I have a lantern in my room. I have a lantern out here as well, which I think I need to put batteries in that one. Those are things you have to think about around here in the wintertime, and also in the late summer, early fall when hurricane season comes about. Because if it hits the coast of North Carolina, we always knew when a hurricane hits the coast of North Carolina and comes up this way, we're screwed. We knew that. So, because of where Massachusetts sticks out, a lot of times the Cape was more screwed than we were because we were more inland. But they do sometimes turn a little bit, head up through Rhode Island and slam into us. So, yeah, that's what happens when you live near water. Although we never get a higher category of storm because we're the North Atlantic and it's colder. It needs warmer water to build up, although it can build up in the mid-Atlantic on its way up, which is never good. I think the highest category storm here in New England was a 3 once. Most of the time, they range from a tropical storm to a 2. 2 is the worst in my memory, my personal memory, which was not pleasant. Bob was a 2. I don't think Gloria was a 2. I think she was a 1, but I'm pretty sure Bob was a 2. Bob had us literally blocked in our houses because there were trees down all over the streets and you couldn't get anywhere to get provisions until they came out and pulled the trees out of the roads. My father and I tried to go to the store to get a few things and we didn't get far because there were full on old trees in the road. So, yeah. And we used to tease my father because even though everybody called him Willie, my father's name was Bob, was Robert. Was Bob. So we would tease him. Thanks, Bob. Because the hurricane had his name. And then we had a hurricane since we lived here called Irene. And we're friendly with a couple who the wife's name is Irene. And we were talking to them on the phone. Hey, you know you're headed toward us. She laughed. I know, my family's been telling me. So, you know, and then, of course, she decided to destroy our apple tree, which is what the deer would come down for, so we don't see deer as much anymore because our apple tree is gone. So, And my father remembered a storm when he was a kid with water up to the middle of his calf down in Connecticut when he was down there with his Wilson family, his family on his father's side. Years later, I found the name of that hurricane. It escapes me at the moment. Was it Donna? It escapes me at the moment. But I found it, and I found the year and everything, and it was pretty devastating. We also do occasionally get tornadoes. And, of course, blizzards and nor'easters. Those are even more common than blizzards. What is the difference between a blizzard and a nor'easter? Let me quickly tell you, for those of you not from this area. And I know many of my viewers on my other channel are not, and some of those viewers overlap, I think. The difference is a nor'easter, first of all, obviously the wind's coming from the northeast, is a severe snowstorm. It can cause power outages. It can shut the world down for a couple of days, depending on how much snow, how heavy the snow is to move. You'd much rather have fluffy snow than heavy, wet snow. So it depends on that. But a nor'easter is a severe snowstorm. Generally, winds coming out of the northeast, thus a nor'easter. But it's also a storm typical of the northeast. Another reason it's called a nor'easter. Nor being short for north. But they don't call the south SOAR. They call it, like Southern California, SoCal. But nor is short for north, northeaster, meaning a bad snowstorm in the northeast with northeast winds. And believe me, you don't want winds from the north, which is where our winds come from in the wintertime, and I'll tell you what, they're freaking cold. We have something called the wind chill factor, which it can be 28 degrees, which is average in January, February. And all of a sudden you got the wind chill factor and it's minus 15. The feels like. It becomes like minus 15 when you have a very low wind chill factor. How cold that wind is. But yeah, the difference between a nor'easter and a blizzard, as I was saying, is the severity. A nor'easter doesn't have as strong a winds as a blizzard. A blizzard, the way it was always explained to us our entire lives here, is basically a hurricane with snow. It's hurricane force winds. It's hurricane force winds with snow. That's what it is. The hurricane with snow. Even though it's not a hurricane in the sense that it's not spinning around and moving places, it's hurricane force winds. Wind speeds equaling that of a hurricane, in other words, with snow. Fun. We've actually had nor'easters with rain, which is awful. Because it's just drowning rain. You look out and just, your road's a river. That does happen. If it's a little bit too warm for snow, you'll get a nor'easter sometimes and it'll be rain and whipping wind just throwing the rain at you. You don't want to be in that. And anybody here in the Northeast will tell you they would much rather drive in snow than sleet or freezing rain, God forbid. Freezing rain is a nightmare. We also have a phenomenon called black ice. It may not even seem that cold out, but you can hit black ice and it can become an absolute catastrophe. Now, what is black ice for those of you like Angel and Chris who live in Florida? Well, what the heck is black ice? Well, they call it that because it's invisible. So you just see the black top and there's a clear layer of ice over it. They call it black ice because it's all you see is the black top. So the ice is essentially black because it's clear. That's what black ice is. And it's an absolute catastrophe. That is a trip to the emergency room and maybe even the ICU. Or if you're really unlucky, the morgue. So it's not something people like to deal with. And unfortunately, it's until people start saying there's black ice on such and such a route, and it starts getting reported between people and then reported on the news and whatnot, or until somebody slides across it and hopefully doesn't have a catastrophe, then nobody knows it's there because it's black ice. It's invisible. And like I said, people have hit black ice on beautiful winter nights that weren't that cold, which is why it's a nice thin layer of ice. And you think, oh, you just break it. You know, if you hit ice that's that thin, you'll break it. No, not necessarily. People are nuts here too because they'll drive in virtually anything. Most of the people I know will drive in anything except for freezing rain. They will not deal with that. So there's an interesting daily journal for you, turned into explaining New England weather, which is very interesting. I think, as someone who lives here in the freezing cold, and then it's totally the opposite in summer. Humid as hell. So we've been having some nice breezes with our humidity lately, so that's been nice. Even though it's humid, we've been having breezes with it. Just about every night we've had nasty rain, which is not terribly uncommon in summer here. We'll start seeing more severe thunderstorms if we have a lot of days of really, really hot, really, really humid, and it's like 5 or 6 days in a row. By the end of that, you're going to have a nasty thunderstorm in the evening when the cool air starts to come in a little bit, especially toward the end of summer, toward the end of August. Whew, gets wild and woolly. Then you have a risk of power outages just from lightning. I know that's something Florida can relate to because they have thunderstorms almost every night. Because of that hot, humid weather that accumulates. The way my parents always explained it is it's hot and humid down here for days and days and days, and up in the sky it's cool. And those two weather fronts, cool weather and hot weather, smack into each other, and it becomes a thunderstorm. Right now, even though it's, let's see, what time is it? 20 minutes of 8, it's still quite light out, which is a change because between the smoke from Ontario, thank you, Canada. I say this as someone who is about a quarter Canadian. Thank you, Canada. I say it sarcastically as someone who is about a quarter Canadian. Because I love the country. I feel a kinship with them. But at the same time, keep your fire to yourself. Please. This is 2 different years of this. It's not pleasant. They got it in Ohio, too, coming down from Ontario. Which makes sense. They're on the border. We're on the border of, well, another state. But after that, we're on the next closest Canadian province is not Ontario. It's Quebec. So, which is where my family was from. Emigrated into New York, into Vermont. So, yeah. And I love my Canadian history. even if the old handwriting is abysmal to read, because it's so tiny. It's not that it's bad, it's tiny. So I have to print it out and take a magnifying glass, look at the handwriting, and go word by word so I can write down, okay, that's the word for December. Okay, that's a date. It's awful because you're translating it to the best of your ability, which my French is genealogical at best. And having to translate it to the best of your ability, knowing the months and the days and things like that. And that's really all I know. And the names of the people with a magnifying glass. After you've printed it out, because you can't read it on the computer at all, and it takes you forever. And don't even get me started on the spelling. That's why I don't like typing in French stuff. If I can find the French stuff that I can import, great, because I don't like typing it. It's awful. And like I said, I'm proud of it. It's just really hard for someone who isn't a native speaker, someone who's learned words here and there so I could read a simple birth or death certificate or a simple gravestone and know, okay, this is the person's spouse, because that's the word for spouse, which is very similar to the Spanish word, which is espouse, and it's actual espouse. It's actually closer to our word of spouse. In Spanish, it's esposo. In French, it's espouse. So it just depends on, because languages are, and it's spouse in English. So it just depends on, they just use the letters a little differently. So that helped. I think I know more Spanish than I do French, sadly, but because I can look at when I had cable, the guide that would come up, and my mother would be amazed because I would come to the Spanish channel and see a movie and I would be able to read enough. Oh, that's Jurassic Park. And my mother would go, how the do you know that? Well, that says dinosaur, in the description. And she'd be like, did you do that? Reading the Bible in Spanish, with my old Spanish group. And she would tell people, my daughter can look at the Spanish channel and tell me what's on it, So, but French is more difficult to me because it has all the little marks and stuff that Spanish really doesn't have, the accent marks and stuff and how you say words. So, anyway, I've talked long enough. I hope you enjoyed this what would I call it? Mixed up video. It really turned into more than a daily journal. It's, what's the word? Conglomeration. So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed this conglomeration. Bye, guys. God bless you. Please subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, by the way, I am going to show you a book that I have on all the TV series from 1946 to what was present at the time. It's huge. And I'll read you the, what do you call it? An example of what's in it for each show. Thank you so much. Please consider subscribing and hitting the hype button. God bless you.